In this video, we explain the construction of the memory. The basic cell in the memory unit is called a binary cell, and it is modeled as we can see in this diagram here. The binary cell needs an input bit to be stored in the memory and an output bit to be read from the memory, and two control signals. One is called select in order to select the bit for read or write, and the other is read write signal to indicate whether we want to read or to write. The cell is constructed as follows, and it is best, in order to understand it, to model it as an SR latch with associated gates. We can see the cell here, which consists of an SR latch here, and this is the input bit in order to write into the memory, and this is the output to read from the memory, and these are the two control lines, the select line and the read write line. The select line is connected to the AND gates at the input of the latch, this one, and the AND gate through which we take the output. And the read-write signal is connected to two AND gates here and to this gate as well. Now let us assume the select is 1, so if this is 1, this will be 1 here, and this will be 1 here, and assume that the read-write is 1, so this is 1 here, and this will be 0, so this will be 0, this will be 0, so S will be 0, and R will be 0. This AND gate at the output, it has one input 1 from select, and one input 1 from read-write, and it has the output of the latch, SR latch. Therefore, whatever the output of the latch is, it will appear at the output of the AND gate. So if this is 0, this will be 0. If this is 1, this will be 1. And in this case, we say that we have read the memory. In order to write into the memory, this line becomes 0. That's why we call it sometimes read-write bar. And when this is 0, this will be 0. Nothing will be obtained from the memory, so no read. And this will be 1 here. And if this is 1, as we can see in this diagram, this will be 1, and this will be 1, and this input will appear at the S input of the latch and its complement on the R input of the latch. If we make this 0, this will be 0, and this will be 1, and this latch will be reset, so we store 0. And if this is 1, this will be 0, and this will be 1, and the latch will be set, so 1 will be stored here. So simply, if the memory bit is selected and read-write is 0, whatever the input is, it will be stored in the memory. So this is the operation of the memory cell, which we use in order to construct a larger memory. This is a memory which is 4 words by 4 bits per word, and it's constructed as follows. Each of the 4 words will need 4 bits, so this will be from the right hand side, this will be bit 0, and this will be bit 1, and this will be bit 2, and this will be bit 3. And this will be word 0 here, these 4 bits, and this will be word 1, word 2, and word 3. In order to complete the construction of the memory, in addition to the 4 by 4, which is 16 binary cells, we also need a decoder, which is 2 by 4 decoder. 2 because we have 2 address lines. If the address lines are 0, 0, we select word number 0. If the address line is 0, 1, we select word number 1, and 1, 0, we select word number 2, and if they are 1, 1, we select word number 3. Finally, we usually have a memory enable input to enable the memory. If it is 0, memory will not be enabled, so no read or write, and if it is 1, the memory will be enabled, and we will be able to perform either the read operation or the write operation. Now, the writing in the memory will go as follows. If we have 4 bits to store in the memory, let's call them I note, the information, I1, I2, and I3, and each input line will go to all the binary cells of that location. So I0 will go to the 4 binary cells, this one in word 0 and word 1 and word 2 and word 3. Same thing for I1. It will also go to the binary cells for word 0, word 1, word 2, and word 3, and so on. So when we want to write in the memory, we put the information at I0, I1, I2, and I3, and we enable the memory, and the read-write line, it will go to all the bits of the memory. So every single binary cell will be receiving a read-write signal. So we call it read-write bar in a minute ago, and therefore when this is 0, it will be 0 at all these inputs here, which is the read-write as we described in the previous slide, it will be 0. However, the word that will be selected will depend upon the address lines. So if the address lines are 0, 1 as an example, so word 1 will be selected. So only these 4 binary cells will receive select line of 1, and all the select lines will be zeros. So the data I0, I1, I2, I3 will be stored in the binary cells of word number 1 respectively, and the other binary cells of word 0, 2, and 3 will not receive any input. So that's for the write operation. For the read operation, same thing exactly. If we select this word here, so what we have, the outputs of binary cells in location 0 all go through one OR gate. Same thing for the binary cells at location 1 go to another OR gate, and binary cells at location 2 to a third OR gate, and binary cells of location 3 to a fourth OR gate. But each OR gate will receive all input zeros except the output of the selected word. So if it is 0, it will be 0, and if it is 1, this will be 1 here, and same applies to the other OR gates. In order to summarize what we have done, when the memory select is 1, one of the 4 words is selected based upon the output of the decoder. For the read operation, the 4 bits of the selected word will go through OR gates to the output terminals, and that's how we can perform the read from the selected word. And for the write operation, the data available in the input lines are transferred into the 4 binary cells of the selected word only. Other words will not receive any input. The memory cells that are not selected are disabled, so they will not receive anything. So that's for the 4x4 RAM. Now the commercial RAMs are usually much larger. They consist of thousands or maybe millions or hundreds of millions of words, with each word usually 1 to 64 bits. We know that a memory with 2 to the k words with n bits per word, it will require k address lines, because with k address lines we have 2 to the k possible combinations to address the 2 to the k words that are available in the memory. However, to be able to do the addressing, we will need a decoder that is k inputs with 2 to the power k outputs. This is a big decoder when 2 to the power k is large. In order to simplify the decoding function, we use what we call two-dimensional decoding. So two-dimensional decoding, the idea of this decoding is to arrange the memory cells in an array that is as close as possible to a square. In other words, the previous memory that we have just seen, it is one-dimensional array. So all the words are here, 0, 1, 2, 3, until 2 to the power k minus 1. Minus 1 is here. So we need a decoder which is k multiplied by 2 to the power k decoder. Now, we will change this. Instead of arranging the memory this way, we will arrange the memory as a square. So it means the memory locations are 0, 1, 2, 3, until 31 as an example, and 32, 33, and 63, and so on. We try to make the memory construction or layout as close as possible to a square, because it will simplify the decoding. And instead of using a decoder which is k multiplied by 2 to the power k. Now we use two decoders, and each one is k over 2 inputs instead of k inputs. The decoding will be simpler in this case. One decoder will perform the row selection in the memory, and the other will make the column selection in a two-dimensional matrix configuration. Now for a 1K RAM, as an example, we have then two choices. We can either use 10 by 1024 decoder, or alternatively, we can use two decoders, and each one is 5 multiplied by 32. Notice the difference. If we use one decoder, which is 10 multiplied by 1024, we will need 1024 AND gates, and each AND gate will have 10 inputs. However, if we use two decoders and each one is 5 multiplied by 32, we will need 64 AND gates, and each AND gate will have 5 inputs. The construction of the memory and the decoders in this case will be as follows. The two decoders, as we said, the first one will address the rows of the memory. It's 5 by 32. And the second decoder addresses the columns of the memory, which is also 5 by 32. Let us assume that the address is divided into two parts. So this is a 10 bits address. The most significant, we call it X, and the least significant, we call it Y. So this will be the row of the memory, and this will be the column of the memory. So the memory then will be, as we said, arranged as 1024 locations, which is 32 multiplied by 32, as we see in this diagram here. Now, suppose we have an address of 404, 404. In binary, it is 01100, 10100. So X will be this and Y will be this. And for 01100, this is a 12. So this will be the line that is active as the output of the decoder, and 10100 is 20 in decimal. So this will be the line that is active from the other decoder, and this will be the addressed word, which is word number 404. So that is the idea of two-dimensional decoding. This can be further demonstrated by the following figure, where the address now is split also into two parts. Let us assume that we have 16 bits address. So we have 8 and 8, and the 8 bits address, the most significant, we use it to address the rows. So we put it in an 8-bit row register, we call it, and the other part, we call it 8-bit column register. And the decoder that was coming to the memory is enabled. Now we have the enable comes as two different enables or selection lines: row address selection, which will enable this register and this decoder, and column address selection, which will again enable this register and this decoder, and both are active low. That's why we have the bar here. And then finally, we arrange the memory as 256 by 256 memory cell array, which is 2 to the power 16 in total. We split it as 2 to the power 8 rows and 2 to the power 8 columns, and we have the read-write signal coming here. And the data in will be given to the memory, data out will be given to the memory, and this is how the address selection is now made through the two-dimensional decoding. It is much simpler than the one-dimensional decoding.